Hi there, and welcome to my Facebook channel. I'm Casey Christensen. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in West Kelowna, BC, where it's currently pretty warm and pretty sunny. Not going to complain about that. It's been a weird week of rain and wind and, but it's really nice today. So I'm happy to be with you today. As you can see, I've just got this pile of stuff going on here. And what I thought I would show you today, most of this, actually all of this is from the Tea Boutique DSP, the 6x6 DSP, as well as the In Color 6x6 DSP. And what I thought I'd like to show you today is how to make use of your scraps. So I made this card yesterday. I'm kind of pleased with it. I think it's quite pretty. And it's just using up scraps. And so I thought I'd show you hopefully a couple of ways today of how to use up your scraps. And I'll show you how I do this with, it's quite simple. I'm going to use some new stuff today too, because what the heck, I got a whole 2 boxes full of new stuff. Hi Gimme, got our 2 boxes full of new stuff today, so I'm going to use some new stuff. So what I'm starting out with here is just your basic white cardstock. You don't need the thick stuff, just the standard basic white cardstock. And I have some multi-purpose adhesive sheets here. So I'm just going to get one out if I can get my, oh, there we go. And I'm going to do a whole piece of this because I know I'm going to use it. If not tonight, I'm going to carry on using up my scraps. And so this stuff is super easy to use. You're just going to always peel off that little tiny strip along the edge so I can get a better grip. So what you're going to do is you're going to peel off the portion that has the writing on it. Okay, so just peel it off like this. And throw out that part. You don't need the part with the writing on it. Careful how you handle this because the stickum comes off on your fingers. I'm just going to place this down here. And I see I've exceeded my paper a little bit. Not the end of the world though. I should have cut that before I did this, but I didn't. So I'm just going to cut it off now. Always a good idea to cut your adhesive sheet to the size of the paper you're using. I just didn't do that for some unknown reason, and now it's permanently stuck to my fingers. Okay, so here we have our sheet. I'm going to trim that little bit off the end there because it could end up being a little sticky and could end up biting me back. So it's just a tiny sliver off the end. Alright, so now I have a clean sheet or a partial sheet. I may as well trim that off because it'll be easier for you to see exactly what it is I'm doing. So I'm just going to trim off this piece of excess white that doesn't have any stickum. So now this completely has a stickum on it, this whole sheet. And I have stuff stuck to my fingers. Okay, so from here, what I want to do is I want to cut this to, I don't want to cut it exactly the size of my my card. My card is going to be your standard size card, so it's cut 8.5 by 5.5. And then scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so I want this to be slightly smaller than that, so I'm going to go back to my usual measuring techniques and go with notches. So I want to have this card be open like this rather than like this. Okay, so I want it to be 5.5 across and 4 1/4 tall. So let's see what I have here so I can make the most out of it. Yeah, so I'm going to go 4 1/4 this way. And 5.5 this way. I'm going to save my little bits because they sometimes come in handy. So from there, and I could have done it all in one fell swoop, but I didn't. So from there, I'm going to take off 2 notches. You know how I roll, right? I'm going to take off 2 notches, which is 1 notch below 1/4 on 2 sides only. 2 sides only, okay? 2 notches there, 2 notches there. So you'll notice that I've cut out some squares out of my strips. Basically, I have a lot of odd shapes and I have some strips. And there's so many different ways you can do this kind of card. So I thought what I would do is work with my squares here, just because I have so many. And this is all leftover bits from cards I've made and little trim-offs, you know. So it's nice to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to peel off my, careful how you handle this, I'm just using the very tip of my finger to handle that. And I'm going to start by doing little squares. And so here's the cool thing, you can just stick it right on there, okay? This is pre-goopied or pre-stuck. So you can just add on your squares, and if you wanted to, you could alternate them. Let's do that just for fun, right? Just to make it a little different. I'm going to alternate some of them. So it's very, very sticky. It's very, very sticky. So let's grab this one that's got a heart shape or some flowers on it. And don't worry if you're overlapping on the bottom, it's all going to trim off, right? So it's all quite trimmable. And this takes me back to quilting, because it's like I'm making a little patchwork quilt here, which I sort of kind of am. I think I'll add another bold color here. You see what I'm doing here? I'm just sort of adding little bits. I'm not worried about how perfectly straight I'm getting. Careful when you're holding on to that. Let's do a brightly colored one here. And then we're going to have a little guy sticking off the edge over here as well as that other end. Then we're going to carry on with this. Let's see. Oh, that one doesn't feel quite right. Let's just carry on and do a nice red bit here. And because it's all pre-stuck, it's so easy to do, right? I thought I had some of these. I might decide to do that. See, it's totally up to you what you decide to do. You can just do whatever you like. How about some turquoise? We're going to use up whatever colors we happen to have. This is going to be a brightly colored card. A little turquoise there. Maybe a plaid over here. Oh, we need some more of the paper with print on it. And I thought I had some lemons. Oh, I do. There's a lemon. There's a lemon. But let's do a solid piece here. It's not really solid. I'm just calling it solid. See that? So let's go over here and do a lemon. And we'll just keep adding pieces as we go. You see? Hi, Dorothy. Nice to see you. We're just playing with little bits and pieces here. Just using up some scraps, really, is what we're doing. There's a nice dark piece there. I like that. And let's just stick this little piece on the end here. We don't have to worry about if we've got more, extra hanging over, because that doesn't matter. It's all going to work out in the end, isn't it? It always does. just sticking pieces wherever you feel like sticking them. And we'll have another stripy one, but we'll go the other way. And this is kind of fun, you know, just using up little bits of paper, because nothing goes to waste. I mean, it's just a fun process. And I'm not really a big fan of waste, and so let's do this bright one there. So as you can see, I've got my card base completed. So now I just need to go in, and I think I'm going to use my trimmer for this. I'll have to get out my bigger one just because I find it a little bit more accurate to use a trimmer of some sort. So I'm just going to get this guy out. I'll trim off this side first. No, I'll trim off this side first. I need to be able to see what I need to trim off. Okay. Now even these little bits, if you want, you can save them. They're small, but they're still usable bits because they're still, let's even that up a little bit down there. They're still usable bits as long as you can pick them up and glue them. They're usable bits, right? Keep an eye on the blade of your cutter because you are going to get, you know, you'll get stuff on it. Just keep it clean. Okay, so there's my first little card bit. I'm pleased with that. I like that I staggered it so that it's not quite row, row, row. And you only need to stagger it on one corner. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my embossing folder, whichever one you like. My little squares were 1 inch, Kim. And then the card is the standard size that I would put on a card base. So the card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm like 2 notches under each of those measurements, just so that you've got a little bit of show around, like we usually do, right? Just a little bit of show. And I like to trim the white down so that I'm not trimming through too many layers later. I mean, you could just put on the layer, like layer your colors, and then trim it after. But it is kind of thick. It's a little bit thick. So either way, you can cut it 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and trim it down, whatever makes you happy. So from here, I'm going to take my embossing folder. I happen to be using the Painted Texture embossing folder. And I'm just going to put my piece into my embossing folder like so. Keeping in mind, you want this end of your embossing folder going into your machine first, and you want your Stampin' Up! Emblem to be staring up at you in the correct direction. Now I'm going to use the big embossing machine today because I have some other things that I want to do. I want to show you the new magnetic sheet, because I'll show you what we're going to do with this card. So this is just layer 1 and 4 because it's a thick embossing folder. I'll run that through. And I'll get that out of the way as well as I can. Get it out of the way. There we go. So let's have a look at this. It looks pretty cool, if I do say so myself. I quite like this. Okay, so it kind of takes all the edges off of it because once you've embossed it. Now it's up to you what embossing folder you use. I happen to use this one because I felt like it was a good mix with my papers. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have a ton of embossing folders, so I was a little bit limited. I'm going to go through the catalog and see what's new. I didn't really take a good look at embossing folders when I was looking through the catalog, but I'm going to go through and see what else I can find. So think of this in terms of, okay, these are squares. What if you took all different size stripes and used your stripes? You can, all different sizes of stripes. You can do it random like this one was. This one, I think what I laid down first was this part with the teacups. It's a rectangle, and then I just added some to the top. You know, if we have time, we'll do another one, but I just wanted to show you what I'm doing with this one. I'm going to use the Sending Smiles bundle because I think it's the perfect way to get a sentiment onto this card. This one I used Hello Beautiful, and I stamped the circle, but I'm going to try these new dies because I want to try the new magnetic sheet, the magnetic cutting. I might even try some of these fancy flowers too, who knows. So I'm going to use, this is the ribbon set that came with the Forest Friends, and it's all olive oil and Sahara sand, or olive oil, old olive and Sahara sand. I'm going to use the old olive right now. So I just want to give myself a nice little ribbon across the bottom of this. And I'm going to get a glue dot here. So, let's see. I want my bow decidedly to one side. So I'm just going to tie myself a bow here. I'm going to aim for across the row of joins there. Now, I'm going to get myself a glue dot because I have discovered, where's my take your pick tool? There it is. I'm going to take a glue dot and I'm going to put the dot approximately where I want my bow to be. I put a little glue dot right there, okay, where I want my bow to be. That way, it's just easier because then when I go to tie my bow and I do my first knot of the bow, I can bring it down to that glue dot and stick it down to the glue dot, okay? So the first knot of my bow is now over top of the glue dot. And you see how it holds it all together nicely? I don't even have my hands on it anymore. It's all nicely held together so that it's easier for me to tie my bow. Okay? Now, I watched this lady on the internet the other day, and she said her bows always turn out better if she ties them upside down. So let's give that a go and see if it's the truth. Oh, so far not so good. That's okay. Big fingers. Big fingers today. No, I don't think it is better, but it's a bow. It works. I don't think it is better by doing it upside down, but that's okay. So there, I've got my bow. So I'm just going to trim this off on a bit of an angle. And the same on this side, trim it off on a bit of an angle. So there's the starting of my card. Okay, I'm pleased with that so far. So now I'm going to get my, I don't think I'm going to use the stamps. These are the stamps, though. They're absolutely gorgeous. Love, 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 love. Yes, I do too, Dorothy. It's my favorite part. And again, it's one of these nice sets where you can take the pieces off, the stamps off, and stick them directly onto your case. When you do that, though, you can discard this thin piece that comes up. But don't discard this. Once you've taken them all off and moved them onto the plate, onto the case, don't discard that because that's actually window sheet and that's quite usable and there's lots of applications for that. So save that heavier sheet. But so now I need to decide, I need a smaller, I need to decide, I think I want to do, there's lots of things here to do. I think I'd like to just do birthday wishes. So let's find it. So we're going to use 2 stamps here, birthday wishes, which I'll just put on my Stampin' Block. This is Stampin' Block G, by the way, the small one. Birthday wishes. I better even that out a little bit, otherwise it might not stamp quite as straight as I would like it to. And it didn't get any straighter, but that's okay, that's fine. And then I think I'm not going to stamp the sending. I think I'm going to cut the sending. This is a 2-part two-part die cut this sending. So I'm going to cut the word sending out of my white, which also has the sticky on the back, okay? So that's where I'm going to cut my word sending from. And then you also get the outline as if you were to fussy cut it. Okay, so now let's get out my brand spanking new magnetic sheet. This is amazing, amazing, amazing. It's the size, it only comes so far. It only comes in the size for the larger embossing unit. However, it is in the catalog. It is in the catalog for the little one too. It's just not available. I'm not sure what the story is with that. Dorothy, you know, I do a lot of casing as well. And the other thing I do, which I'm going to show you on another live, the other thing I do is I'm on Pinterest. I think most of us are. Casing means copying cards that you've seen. Case means copy and selectively edit, or it also means copy and share everything. It means that if you saw a card that you liked online and you copied it, that's what casing means. And a lot of people do that. I started out doing that a lot. I still do it. But another thing I do on Pinterest is I have a folder in my Pinterest, and it's called, oh dear me, I'm not going to be able to come up with it all of a sudden. Just a second. Card layouts. So go on Pinterest and put in the search engine card layouts. And there's millions of them out there. And what it does is it gives you the basic overall layout for a card, and then you add your own taste in paper and stamps and whatnot. That way you're sort of getting some help with your card, but you're not completely casing. So here's the new magnetic plate. It's thick and it's heavy. Okay, it's a serious piece of equipment. And I'm going to put down my sending, and I'll show you when we get to the other portion how nice it is to be able to do this, because you can do your cutting and whatnot and not use washi tape, which I know you've seen me use a ton of washi tape, constantly using washi tape. So you don't have to use it now with this magnetic plate. So you see I've got my stuff on here, nothing's going anywhere. So I've got my sending with the sticky on the back, okay? My sticky is on the opposite side, and I've got my inner piece that's going to be the platform for my sending. Now, when you open your magnetic thing, it tells you here to use plate number 1. Then it says to use plate number 2, which is that really thin one that usually goes on top of plate number 1. Then 5, which is this, and then 3, which is your standard cutting plate. However, guess what? These directions are wrong. I'm sorry, but they're wrong. If you layer up all of that, you're not getting it through your machine, and you don't want to force it. You can break your machine. The real layering is knock off the number 2 plate. You don't need that little thin plate. You need the first plate, this one here, the magnetic plate, and a clear plate, number 3 plate. Okay, that's what you need. So I actually drew a line on my instruction there to remind me that that's what I need to do. So let's just do this. It's actually a pretty nice day today here. So my husband and I, we opened a little bottle of wine. It's from a tiny winery that we really love called The Hatch. It's very casual, very friendly. And the bottle we opened is called Gobsmacked. And I wish I could show you the label. The label is, all the labels are drawn by their children. The label art is done by their children. So you see, you are going to get marked on your, that's to be expected. That's going to happen with the magnetic plate. It's just like these. When you use it, it gets markings on it, okay? So there's this is going to be behind my word sending, and here's my word sending. Now, as I've mentioned to you before, you've got holes in the die, so just poke it out in one of the small holes, and then as you pull it apart, it kind of takes itself apart. You'll need to go back and clean this, but it kind of takes itself apart, okay? And anything that doesn't come apart comes apart when you pull off the stickum. Now let's just see how steady I am today to get this neatly attached to that. Should be interesting, but let's give it a go. Sort of do a little bit as you go. And I am okie dokie with that. Now, somewhere along the line, there was a dot to my I, which I lost. Did I lose it? Did I actually lose it? No, I didn't lose it. There it is. And as clever as they are, they've left you a hole to get that little dot out. Now, can I do it without losing it? That will be the question. Oh, this is exercise for silliness. I don't really even think I can get that little bit of paper off of there. See how small that is? So what I'm going to do is, oh, I lost it. And I lost it again. What I'm going to do is give this the teeniest little dot of glue you ever did see. I suppose if I had a small enough. Oh, come on now. Let's cooperate. All right, let's see. I need a teeny. There. Now, let's see if I can grab this. Miracle of miracles. How do you like them apples? Okay, so it looks a little messy at the moment, but that glue is going to dry clear, so it's not so bad. There we go. So we have our sending. Now, I'm going to take my stamp, and I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, and I want just a little bit of, do I want to do it on here? Maybe I do. Maybe I do want to do it on there, and then I can stick it on. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's try it. Won't know until we try it, right? No, that's not on there straight. I have to redo this. Hang on a second. There we go. Let's try this. Okay. I don't know if that's going to be okay or not. Let's just look at the die and figure it out, because where are the dies? Okay. No, they're not under there. Where? Here they are. I think this is going to be, I think I'm not going to like this. You know what? I'm going to do it anyway, because what I think I'll end up doing is trimming it down. So, and I can do that by hand. So I can just pop it on there. See how it's on there? Can you see that? I put it further down because I'm going to trim off the end. Okay? I just feel like that's too much. Too long. So here I have my two layers, my layer number 1 and my magnetic plate. I'm just going to drop this on top. You'll notice no washi tape, and we'll see how this goes. And I'm doing it a couple of times only because I have that stickum on the back. Right? Giving it a little extra push. Okay. There we have it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So let's do this. You've seen me do this before. Okay. Now I'm just going to throw that back in there and trim off the other end. We're hoping for perfection here. Let's just see what we get. There we go. Okay, so easy peasy. Just to get it the size you want, just cut it and then move it along and cut it again. That worked out quite well, I'd say. So let's get our card now. And all right, so this is going to go on, I think I decided on Old Olive. So let's get a piece of that out. Oh, I'm into a new package of Old Olive. It is one of my favorites, so that doesn't surprise me. And we're going to cut this your standard 5.5 by 8.5, and then score at 4.25. And this card is going to go in this direction because I think it just works better for what we have, you see? So I've got a little more space top and bottom than I had in mind, but that's okay. As long as it's symmetrical, it works. So I'm going with that. I'm gonna go with that. I guess I trimmed off more than I thought I had, I guess. But it's fine. Because I don't want to trim it again. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to get some dimensionals. I want to pop this up for sure. Sorry, I'm out of camera range again. One there, and one there. And we're just going to balance this evenly between the top and the bottom, because it is, it's not symmetrical to the card front, but I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Doesn't have to be. There's no rules, right? Look at that. Isn't that cute? Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. So we're going to dimensionalize this as well. We're going to put as many minis as we can so that it's nice and secure. Just wherever you can manage to put one where it's not going to show. And I think I can fit one on that. Yeah, that's okay. And another little one right here. Just, oh, and maybe one more. I want it to be really secured on there. There we go. That's a lot of dimensionals, but that's okay. That is okie dokie. Yes, you do stagger it a little bit. Not a ton, but you do stagger. Anything you put through there, you're going to stagger a little bit. It just makes it feed in a little easier. It's a little less difficult to get started, you know. Okay. I am going to pop this up, even though it has sticky on the back. I think it'll look better popped up because our sending is popped up. I'm going to make that a little off kilter as well. Pretty, right? I'm pleased with that. I think that's lovely. Now I do have some, I think I'm going to put one little flower, just one, because I think it looks good there. I'm going to take one of these little fun flower resin shapes, and I'm going to place it right there. Just the one, just like that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do the inside. So I thought I would try these deckled rectangles because they look amazing to me. So what would be a good size? Let's just have a look. Probably that one. So let's have a look at that and see what it looks like, because I haven't tried that yet. I'll find a piece of, I don't have anything big enough. And I'm just going to get an idea of where this should be, probably at about 3 1/4 and a little bit. Perfect. So now I'll get my magnetic again. And the other nice thing about magnetic is you can use pieces that are very, very close. Like sometimes if you're using a piece that's very close to the exact size, and it can shift, or you have to tape it down when you're going to work with it. But this you don't have to, because the magnetic plate is doing that job for you. So you can just pop your plate down on top of it. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's fun. Look at that. That is really fun. Deckled rectangles. That is fun. It almost has a bit of a torn, bit of a look to it. I like it. And that I'm just going to put on with my tape because I need it to be nice and flat for writing on it. I quite like that. Isn't that cool? I like that. I'll be using that a lot. I really like the look of that. Okay, so that's my card for today. Keep in mind, once you've got your platform made, your sticky bit, it's up to you. It's up to you what kind of. I could do another one if you like. Do you want me to just start another one? I'm not going to do a whole card, but if you'd like, I'll start another one to show you another way that you can do this. So I'm going to do this at 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm going to trim down this time. I think it will be better to trim it down after the fact. So I'll do 5.5 by 4.25. 5.5 by 4.25. Somehow that didn't seem right to me, but it is. Okay, and I'll show you just how I did the other one. I just sort of picked up random. I'm not going to do a card, like I said. I'm just going to pick up random bits, and I'll show you what kind of thing I was doing yesterday, because I was really enjoying doing this. I thought it was a great deal of fun. So again, just peel your stuff off and grab something. Okay, so I'm just gonna start by grabbing that one. Oh, I want to make sure it's nice and straight though. Okay, and I'm not going to use the whole thing. I think I want it to be off a little bit. I don't want it to be that wide. Okay, and then how about this one? See that? It's pretty cool what you can just do. Okay, I'm going to stick something here just because I know I'm going to trim it off, but I'm going to stick something there anyways. So let's add a piece there. Maybe some, what else have we got here? Maybe this piece up here. I'm going to stick a tiny piece up to there, up at that top part. Sometimes you got to do that. Just going to grab a tiny piece and stick it here. Okay. And just, you know, grab whatever pieces you see. And don't worry about, oh, look what I've done. That's how clever I am. Don't worry about if you've got pieces overlapping, because that's doable too. You see what I'm doing here? I just wanted to have this turquoise stripe in there. So there it is. Okay, so what I can do here is take a tiny bit of glue and glue down the remainder of my stripe. See that, how I did that? Okay. And then what else have I got? I like this one. I'm going to stick that one down too. And again, oh, I don't need the glue on that one. And then I'm going to take, I think that might be a little too dark at this point. Let's see what else I got. Maybe I should add some red at this point. Let's add some red down here. Okay. Maybe a teapot or two. And it's just whatever makes you happy, right? That's what it's all about. I got a few stripes in a row there, so I think I will maybe add some of this blue, but not that much of it. I'm going to trim some of this off. No, that's too much too. Just trim off a little bit. Give this a smaller slice. That works for me. And maybe a little bit of, no, that's too much like the other. So let's find something else. Okay, so that looks like a big mess, doesn't it? But it won't be in a minute. So I'm going to use this time so I can get a better lineup of my measurement. And then, so you kind of end up making more scraps, but that's okay. I think I need to take a little bit more off of that, but I'll do it in a minute. Cool. See, I quite like it. I think it looks pretty interesting. Now, let's just suppose, for argument's sake, that you had leftover bits and pieces of something, of anything. Let's see what I've got. I'm really making a mess here, but let's just see what I've got. Let's see. Well, maybe I don't have little bits of... I don't have anything interesting in my... Well, I do. I have a watering can. I have a watering can in here. I don't know. Let me see. Let me see what else I've got. I don't have anything interesting because all I've got is shapes. I don't have any cutouts. If you had cutouts left over, like supposing you had, I don't know, little fence pieces left over from making, well, I got a ladybug. Little fence pieces left over from doing your on the horizon cards or something like that. You could put a fence down and add that to your design. So I'm going to add this watering can because what the heck. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it some glue, just a little bit. And I'm going to drop it down here. And then the whole thing goes in the embossing folder. Look at the mess I've made. Oh my goodness, I'm good at that, aren't I? So the whole thing goes in the embossing folder like so. Keep in mind that you're going to trim this still. It's still going to get trimmed. So I need my layers here. So your whatever you put on here, whether it's my watering can or whatever, has now become part of my card design. Okay? It's part of it now. It's embossed on there, it's glued, it's embossed, it's whatever you want it. So here's what I could do, for example, is once I've got this trimmed out to where I want it, I could then go to my cup of tea bundle and cut myself out some leaves to stick out the top, or some flowers to stick out the top of my watering can, right? No end to what you can do, but the main concept here is to be able to easily use up scraps, because we do get look at all these scraps. We do get a lot of scraps going on, and it's just nice to be able to use them. I do tend to keep my scraps together, so like all my scraps from the cup of tea or the tea boutique, they're together. All my genius at work. I wish, Dorothy. I keep my scraps together. So another one I want to play with is going to be my horizon, because I've got lots and lots of the new horizon scraps. So I keep your scraps together, keep them in the bag with your DSP. That way when you go to do something like this, you're ready, that made a lot of sense. You're totally ready to get your pieces together and they all coordinate. This is actually two packages of DSP because it's also my in colors. Excuse me, as well as my tea boutique. Okay, so you get the idea. I've already lost the other card. Nope, there it is. So you get the idea. It's fun to do, and just float your own boat. The other thing that looks really cool is if you work with stripes, just stripes, right? So take whatever stripes you have, and you don't have to put them along the card. We're going to pretend this is another piece. You don't have to put them straight up and down. You can start out by doing this and then add another stripe and do it in that same angle, and you know, and all different sizes and all different shapes of stripes. You know, there's no end to what you can do. You can put them straight up and down. You can make them really, really narrow in between them. You know, do narrow stripes in between them. There's just no limit to what you can do and how you can have. I am too, Kim. I am too. I got an extra package of it. There's no limit to what you can do here. Just, you know, use your imagination. And sometimes I like to start out with something. So for me, to start out with these cups is a great starting point, right? Because they're all three. Well, you won't get all three on there, but they're full cups. There's nothing been chopped off or anything. And then go from there. And don't be afraid to put things on weird angles and you know, or to even cut things on weird angles. That looks really cool too, you know. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was fun for me. I think it's fun making these cards, and I think it's fun using up bits and pieces. But tomorrow is Wednesday. Tomorrow I will be playing with something brand spanking new. Haven't decided what yet. I haven't decided exactly what yet, but I'm leaning toward the beautiful, where are they here? I'm leaning towards this set tomorrow because I'm dying to get my hands on it and start doing something. I'm also involved in a swap with 20 people, and I think this is going to be what I use for my swap cards, so I'm pretty excited about that. So tune in tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we're going to play. I'm 99.9% sure we're going to play with that, and no, what the heck, I'm sure we're going to play with that. So tune in tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this today, and catch me on YouTube, Instagram, and here on Facebook. And thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time, hopefully tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.